Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome to another episode of the Last Days podcast. Today is going to be more of an intimate show in which we're going to be getting down to the nitty and the gritty. It is the last days after all, that's why half the guests are missing, because they are preparing for the end times. But we're here, and every Friday, ladies and gentlemen, there should be an episode coming out. So make sure you're subscribed, locked and loaded. Khalid, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. How have you been?
Alhamdulillah. I think since our first episode, you've started your Instagram page as well, isn't it?
I have, yes. It's called @ForgeNovum. So ForgeNovum.
In the last days, naturally there will be influences and naturally there will be things that will be vying for our attention. There is a great deal of demand for our attention, for our focus, because we're in a attention driven industry. You don't have to pay to watch YouTube videos or Instagram videos. You just need to stay on their platform long enough that they can get the money from the adverts. And that's what you are. You're a statistic, and they want you on their platform as long as possible. So we're going to go through some of the platforms, and we're going to go through some of the things that are there and how they try to keep our attention and how that's changed from before.
Okay.
So let's start off first with the typical, the social media versus the television. Back in our days, obviously, people would rush home because there would be a show that would be fixed at a certain time.
Yeah.
And if you weren't home, that's it, you missed it. Now, kids can watch any show ever made at any time. How do you think, and what impact has that had on our collective psyche?
It's a severance on patience. That's what this is. So when you're patient for something, the reward that you yield from that sets off far more receptors in the brain than receiving it instantly. So we spoke about instant gratification, for example.
Yes.
And it then becomes a form of binging. And when that form of binging starts, it releases almost a floodgate of toxins and neurotransmitters. So imagine, for example, all you need is to open the tap at a specific, amount, and it will pour through and your cup will fill and it will satiate you and it will quench your thirst. What you're essentially doing here is you're opening the tap on full blast. You're filling your cup, but there is so much spilling out of that. And so by having media at your disposal like this, it leads to an expectation in a person where they almost expect, well, where is episode 2? Where is episode 3? I'll give you a prime example of Squid Games, right? When Squid Games ended, people don't wait every week to watch Squid Games. They just kind of watch all of it in one go. And
season,
like the whole season, and now it's finished. Oh no, what happened now? Where's the next one? And there's an impatience for them to produce the new one. And so with that impatience is a form of entitlement. And when you've got so many people who are walking around entitled, what that then leads to is a sense of narcissism. And what we have is pseudo-narcissism that has infiltrated so many people without them knowing it. Hence why these social platforms exist, to give everyone a stage of their own.
So narcissism, that is a word that unfortunately gets thrown out a lot, especially against men. When relationships break up. Oh, he's a narcissist. So let's put this in context. How is watching Netflix making you a narcissist?
It's not necessarily you watching Netflix that's going to make you a narcissist. It's what comes with it, the demand, the want for, I need more, I want more. But what entitles you to more? Did you produce it? Did you act in it? Did you pay for the production? You did nothing other than consume. But again, without the consumer, there would be no product.
And even, I think, this is an example that gets used a lot. Amazon Prime, next day delivery. You just pay £7, boom, it's there the next day. The reason why Temu, Shein, and these Chinese websites have to give you a good deal is because it takes the product like 3-4 weeks to arrive. And people still are waiting patiently because it costs less. I would have thought in this day and age, people would pay more for the product to be here quickly. Why is it that Temu and Shein are still doing well despite the long waiting periods and the non-instant gratification that it offers?
Because it's cheaper. And again, that's the narcissism, isn't it? Why should I pay more? You know, there's quality to what you pay for. But if you're going to your high street store, for example, and you go to one of the major outlets that you'll find in any, you know, mall, for example, and you see the quality of that clothing, it's not too dissimilar from what you find on these Chinese websites. And so an individual goes, well, I kind of want these jeans now, but do I want them for £38 or shall I get them for £8? And I'll wait a little bit because it favors me. It doesn't favor me to spend that £38 here when I can get it for £8 over there. I'm saving 30 quid. I could use that on something else. Again, you're thinking about the self.
So we got Netflix that we discussed. Then we discussed ordering, yeah? So ordering products. Next in line, food, yeah? Fast food. Nowadays, you can order anything in the comfort of your home. Uber Eats, you can track the driver.
Yeah.
You can go, what are you going on, mate? What's going on? Like, took you 10 more minutes because you took a wrong turn.
Yeah.
Like, you got the sat nav and everything. I'm hungry, mate.
And you're watching them do it. You're watching them make that wrong turn.
Like, he's getting closer.
But then you're also sometimes screaming at the phone, why are you going down that road for? You know, yeah.
So that, the whole instant kind of need, that is probably why there is a growing fast food industry. Would you agree?
It's what we spoke about previously, where it's not just fast, it's I require this because my time is precious. Everyone's become important. This is what I mean about the extension of narcissism.
The spotlight effect.
Yeah, the spotlight effect. It's, you know, I'm important. My time's important, but rightly so. Time is a commodity that you can't get back. So people should be frugal with their time and invest it in things that they need to.
So I mentioned spotlight effect, and there's also something called main character syndrome.
Oh, this is, yeah.
So main character syndrome, I'll leave to you. But spotlight effect, correct me if I'm wrong, is, from the last time I checked, something along the lines of whenever you're going out, you feel like everybody's watching you. Yeah. And sometimes this can be crippling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? It prevents you from actually going out of your comfort zone. It prevents you from doing new things because you believe, oh, everyone's watching me. How does that tie with main character syndrome?
So they're slightly different. Like main character syndrome is more an amplification of narcissism, whereas the spotlight effect it can be crippling because this is what underpins panic attacks and anxiety attacks, for example. So a person who suffers with anxiety attacks will seldom go out because they feel that, what if I faint in public? What if something happens to me when I'm outside? I'm going to look a wreck. People are going to point fingers at me. When the reality is, if something like that happens to you, we'd hope that humanity is such that they would come to your aid. Are you okay? Do you need water? Shall I call someone?
No, they'd probably be,
well,
how's everything?
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, you'll probably find that. And again, but that's really interesting that you pointed that out, because that's main character syndrome. I saw something happen to someone else, but I'm the conduit by which you've received that information. Look at me and like me and celebrate me at someone's misfortune. That's horrible.
So is main character syndrome where anywhere that you go, even if it's not like your celebration, your party or something, you believe you're the main guy. You'll be speaking the loudest or butting in, and like how does that manifest?
So if you want to spot a narcissist or somebody with main character syndrome, and I know people, you know, if you're at a birthday party or people who celebrate birthdays, for example, you know, sometimes people sing happy birthday. Wait for the end of that and wait for that one person who then steals the limelight. That might just go, okay,
and many more
type of thing, right? Watch for that person, and it will always be the same one each time, and they'll always have the same type of characteristics, because it's so difficult for them, and it's very unconscious most of the time. It can be calculated, but a lot of the time it's unconscious, where all of the attention is on the person whose birthday it is, and there's something inside that eats away, and it's almost like, how do I get all of these eyes to somewhat look at me? I'll say something funny, they'll all laugh. Ah, here we go. The air has now been pumped back into my system. I always use the analogy of a balloon. A narcissist is like you pump air into a narcissist. And main character syndrome is that a narcissist or somebody with main character syndrome will usually have a group of people around them that are constantly flooding them with that air, pumping it in constantly. They'll send a picture of themselves on their group chat and everybody else will celebrate. Oh, you look so good. Look at you. Wow, amazing. I always wanted to be like
But
you.
it reminds me of a quote, isn't it? Comparison is the thief of joy, and social media is its sidekick. Yeah.
Like
So
that.
people that are very kind of, they need that attention. They'll post up pictures. It's called rage bait now. Rage baiting.
What's that? What's rage baiting?
So rage baiting is where you deliberately post controversial, triggering stuff to get people to respond and for it to become a thing. Andrew Tate does that a lot, I would argue, just to stay relevant. Yeah. And I don't want to mention her name, but there is a model or adult actress who boasts of sleeping with 1,000 men in a day. And that again will result in her getting interviews, discussions. People will be angry and like, how dare she do this? Why is she doing this? And other people are saying, well, it's freedom of expression and this and that. So the Overton window for what we kind of expect to be normal has shifted significantly. Now, iShowSpeed is a streamer and he's funny, he's hilarious, and people like him. But he initially, when he started, he was shouting, barking, very outlandish, doing really wacky stuff that if you saw people doing it 20 years ago, you'd think this guy has issues.
So what do you mean barking?
He literally, he barks like a dog. And the kids love that, innit? And I watched it and it's funny, I get it. But when you're comparing it, because these kids, they don't have anything to really compare it with. We do. We had people that worked for their celebrity. They had true talent. And iShowSpeed can maintain an audience, but maintaining an audience by being outlandish, by being loud, by having, not because of intelligence, just because of entertainment. What do you think is that difference between intelligence and entertainment?
Well, I think if we all become clowns, then the world becomes a circus. And you need a ringmaster. And what you will find is there's always a ringmaster behind everything. And that's what's scary, because it's almost like the clowns are being celebrated. And everybody who comes to the circus now wants to be a clown. Your question was about, sorry, I was just, as you were thinking that, I could see an image of a circus in my head. Yeah. Because it's, I think in images, many people who are neurodiverse, for example, I suffer from ADHD. Those who have neurodiversity sometimes think in images. So I often think in an actual image, and then I use vocabulary to make it coherent.
So it was intelligence versus entertainment.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. So intelligence is hard work. Entertainment isn't. For you to be intelligent, you have to have put some time, put some graft, learnt a skill, understood that skill, analysed, put it together, and then develop the skills to be able to project that and put it forward. Whereas entertainment is you walking down the street, pretend to trip up, everyone laughs at you. What's the skill in that? It's idiocy.
If you said something really wacky,
yeah,
and then you made a weird noise,
yeah,
that is most likely to reach your contacts and the people, because they'd be sharing it more than you talking about, what was that thing about the type of people? The
narcissist?
No, the one that you mentioned now that I think in terms of images.
Oh, some people who are neurodiverse.
Yeah. So that's the reality, unfortunately and sadly, that we know, we're not naive. We know it's a concept that is typical even in news, that when there is stuff that causes outrage, that will generate more clicks than something that is actually informative.
Okay, can I come back on that just to talk about the main character syndrome piece and how it sort of underpins narcissism? Because narcissism isn't always fueled by positive, receiving positive information. So if, for example, a narcissist stops receiving all of the positive information, all of the positive air is being pumped into the narcissist, they will look for the opposite. So hence why being outlandish, being outrageous, because it then still turns the attention to me. It's inward. And so you mentioned barking or making a loud noise or whatever that does. What does that do? That claps attention into place. So if we're all having a conversation, all of a sudden we heard a scream outside, both of us are going to go like that. And that's the whole point. They do it to bring
even
it back.
on TikTok, not mentioning any names, but I've seen at least 2 Muslim TikTokers. They're not doing anything haram or anything. I'm not hating on them, but as soon as like I'll scroll, like, brothers and sisters, this is what's going on over there. This needs to be solved. Why on earth are we not doing this? And then the first time I saw it, I was like, what is going on?
What's going? Yeah. Too much caffeine.
But bro, those videos will be doing well compared to somebody who's just calmly sitting down and saying, look, this is quite concerning and we need to make sure that articulately, coherently, formulating sentences and words. And no, now it's just shouting at the camera, and that maintains attention because a shorts only does well if it has a really good hook. And the hook is the first 2 to 3 seconds to stop the scroll, and the only way you can do that is by shouting at the people.
It's almost like shouting them into attention, like a drill sergeant would do. You see, so what are you? Are you just Are you a form of a battalion here for that person? Are you standing in order for that person here? You're the clown and he's the ringmaster.
A lot of good content I feel gets missed because a person simply does not have the patience to sit through the first 3 to 4 seconds. Like, give the video a chance. Yeah, and because of that, I think. But have you noticed, like locally, less and less people are staying for, like, other than the Jummah khutbah, for the talks. Yeah, where once upon a time, like back in the days, you had Sheikh Ahmad Ali and all of these guys, their CDs would be sold in the back of cars and they would pack out venues. Now, I don't know, how is it now? Because you have certain scholars, and alhamdulillah, they're brilliant scholars and they pack out stadiums, but comparatively speaking, when you look at your local imam and the likes, like, what have you noticed the difference of people seeking knowledge like that?
I think, when you talk about hooks, right? Hooks essentially forms a part of storytelling. And the Quran is wonderful in expounding on stories. And really, like the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, for example.
Yeah.
So the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, for example, is so vivid and imaginative. You can really picture everything that's going on in that. You almost like you'll start to picture the cell, you'll start to picture, the dream interpretations, you'll start to picture all of the brothers. And so it's fantastic at telling those stories. The story of Musa alayhi salam, for example. So any good da'i, if you look at them, or these mashayikh who come on, if they are good storytellers, they will hook the people in. But those who just have a plethora of knowledge but haven't worked out the art of storytelling, it becomes difficult for them.
So you're saying for you to be successful now, you have to merge the two, infotainment.
Yes, I think that's a good, and I'll caveat that by saying the Quran is not entertainment, but it uses what people have always used, which is a form of storytelling. And storytelling is an ancient tradition. It's what people would do. They would gather together, and the old sage in the family would stand up and start to tell stories of the ancients, and the youngsters would listen, because it would empower you. In those stories are morals, in those stories are lessons, in those stories are heroism and defeat, etc. And that is the curve that we all live by. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, and these stories will empower us. And so storytelling is a real art.
And if you've noticed, even the movies nowadays, whilst before the movies would have a masculine character, a feminine character, and the stories would be more wholesome, talking about family values, talking about wholeness, talking about finding the good in humanity. Nowadays, a lot of the stories are being tolerant of evil, confusing and blurring the lines of good and evil by having a character, the anti-hero. So you've got that superhero that was on Netflix, I've forgotten the name, that he's actually an evil guy. I think he's part of The Boys or something. I think that's what the show's called.
Not The Punisher, is it? No.
But even you've got the likes of The Punisher, you've got the likes of Dexter, and you've got the likes of a lot of these people that commit, like Dexter commits a crime.
Right.
Yeah? Like he murders, he's a serial killer.
Okay.
However, they take you on a journey in which you don't want him to be caught.
Okay.
Because they're dehumanizing that person.
Yeah.
And I think, like I get it, when it comes to their own things, when it comes to our people, they'll, like in the West, they'd be saying, okay, look, there's depth. Like, why did this white person commit this tea attack? However, when it comes to any brown person, no, there's no context. Either you're with us, you're against us. You can't justify tea and this and that. So there is a lot of that at play, and we're seeing this even in the movies. Like, a lot of people, especially Star Wars enthusiasts, you will see them with anyone who's a collector. One of his main kind of things will be Darth Vader. Darth Vader. Who, again, through what we found, we actually followed. We had the origin story of this character as a child. Oh, he's lost his parents. Oh, he's grown up, and look, he's got these things that were injected in him, or it's in his DNA. Oh, he's like this. He can't Aslan. He can't help it. And then, his wife is about to die, and he has to go to the dark side. He has no other choice. And then Darth Vader's killing. But at the end, as long as he realizes his mistake, and you know what, he says to Luke that, you know what, you were right and you brought me back to that. Does that excuse everything else? So why the shift?
I mentioned something called othering a while ago, and this has been happening since sort of Enlightenment times. You know, what I find interesting is Muslim was always called the infidel by the West.
Oh, really?
So we were called the infidel, or the barbarians, or those lot over there. And it's interesting because it comes off the back of things like Islamic Spain, where it was an Enlightenment period for Muslims at that time, and so much was given to the West. But now all of a sudden we're the infidels and we're the barbarians. So when people say that, we often call others infidel. I find it quite strange. But the othering, essentially, what it does is, if we can
dehumanize somebody,
if we can start to dehumanize a people, let's leave that part for a moment. If we can take the antagonist, right, and make you sympathize with the antagonist, and make you have feelings for why the antagonist is doing what he's doing, and you then develop a certain type of empathy for them. Understanding someone and empathizing with them, two different things. So you might be able to understand. So, for example, I worked in prisons at one point where there were people who had murdered, etc., things like that. So I'm trying to understand what led them to that. Right? But I'm not going to go, things were so bad, no wonder you killed. I'm not going to do that. Right? Mine is more to understand what brought you to that point. So if we can do this, and we can allow people to become sympathetic, empathetic towards the antagonist, when that antagonist now does something, it won't sting you as much. Your moral compass has now been slightly diluted. And that is what's happening around the world. So when you see things in Palestine, for example, you see things in Sudan, how is it that the world can look and see such horrendous deaths? Because there is a sense of sympathy with the West now to say that we kind of get why they're doing this, right? And these people have been othered anyway. They've been dehumanized anyway. So your moral compass is now in disarray, and it needs to recalibrate itself.
And I was reading someone else's analysis as well, and they were saying that if you look at the current ongoings, people are struggling economically. Why? Because their countries most likely are involved in a war of attrition. Long drawn out wars in which your resources get drained slowly, or your country is being sanctioned. Cuba, Afghanistan, they're being sanctioned by the West because obviously they are not they're not playing ball. Whilst on the other hand, you've got leaders like the Syrian leader who is trying to play ball just so his country doesn't end up like Cuba and Afghanistan. But again, that's an issue as well, because people are saying, look, you can't play into what they want you to do. However, as a leader, you want your country to have a chance of doing well. So it's a bit of a catch-22 there. So economically, people are struggling in terms of values, like you're seeing, because this country is our friend,
Yeah.
like it is with Israel. And it goes against every value that somebody in the West has taught. Israel literally, it doesn't care. And people are having to go well beyond, common sense to have to defend Israel. Like, it really is tricky, but they're trying to gaslight us into doing so. So one analysis I saw was that you can't now have a naive, happy-go-lucky character as you once did, because that reflected that world. Now, because of such evil, people just can't relate to those characters. They want a character that is pissed, that's angry, like law-abiding citizen. Gerard Butler's character, when his family gets killed, he has a certain amount of skills, and that guy now, starts going mad. And he kills so many people just to avenge his family,
because it's a reflection of one's own internal rage. So you're vicariously living through that character on screen.
Vicariously.
Right? And you're doing that, and it gives you some sense of relief. You can't necessarily do it in your state where you feel completely suppressed, but this character on stage is doing it for you. And this is why it's a separate subject, but I was saying to a brother earlier on, when I was speaking to him, I said, the sunnah is gentle. All right? The sunnah is gentle, but often we can portray the sunnah as harsh. And if we portray the sunnah as harsh, we have to understand that that's a reflection of our own harshness. We have to understand where that comes from. Let's not project our own internal harshness onto the masterpiece, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So even, for example, we take this to, like, I don't know, I used to watch wrestling when I grew up. Like, I used to enjoy wrestling. And we lived in a time where the cartoons that used to be around, things like He-Man, things like Thundercats, I'm showing my age here, but it was always these like real heroes against these real bad guys. The distinction was clear. And even during wrestling, you had people like Hulk Hogan, and you had all these all-American heroes, and you had the real bad guys.
You had the Jewish Goldberg in WCW who would win every single match. And then you had the evil guys on the other side.
But again, look at how Goldberg's character was. Goldberg wasn't an out-and-out good guy. He was a nutter. Like, he would come out, smash his head against the wall, get pumped up. Security guards are bringing him in because he's so dangerous and volatile. And that is a fantastic archetype for people who feel inadequate and weak.
But even in those days, you had like the all good character, like Hollywood Hogan, who went and joined the NWO.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the biggest turning points ever in wrestling, which was like, how can this guy turn into a bad guy? Like, he is the absolute representation of goodness, and now he's turned bad.
They call it turning heel.
Turning heel. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And then I think very recently, The Rock did it. And that goes against his kind of character. But it's interesting how when his career is declining, to rescue his career, they felt that was the best thing to do for him to turn heel. Miley Cyrus and these guys, she's an old example, but again, she, on the kind of Hollywood stage, she performed a really inappropriate act where she was giving somebody a lap dance to bury and kill that image of the Disney girl.
She was the Disney kid, wasn't she?
She was the Disney kid. And a lot of
these
guys, because I was looking at the analysis, and it was that because they're for a set audience, for them to then reach out to a bigger audience, they have to then kill that character. Yeah, they do. In order for, like Breaking Bad, like you had Malcolm in the Middle, the father, and for him to kind of go for that role, like it was a total other extreme role. I am the danger.
But it's interesting because there are like sort of esoteric hidden meanings behind these type of things as well. So it's the shedding of one's skin, and it's very apt for them to do it because the powers that be that are giving you the media that you consume are influencing your mindset, right? Because if you are now vicariously living through these characters as well, there is an unconscious driver for you to be like them. And that's important to know. So the all-American good girl, Miley Cyrus, in her Disney program, I don't know what she did, and I'm assuming she was like this really lovely type of
all of
kid, right? All of that sort of fluffy stuff.
Yeah.
So she's done all of that, and now people are idolizing her. Young children are idolizing her. They're seeing her, but rather than her continuing that, what she's showing you is that if you really want to be successful, If you actually want to get something in life, if you want to be someone, you have to shed your skin. And when you shed your skin, you have to become what? The inverted version of yourself. So the good has to become bad. And we spoke about this in the last series, which is that world, that the world of the Jannat is completely opposite to what we are. Whether industries are run by, entities, I'm not going to talk about that just now. People can make up their own mind.
Okay, Khalid.
Right? But rather than calling me a kook or whatever it might be. But, it's essentially that power is coming from somewhere. And to appease that power, you have to do certain things. And to take innocence and turn it into degradation is a perfect example of that power play. You take your innocence, turn it into this, I'll give you something. And that's what's happening. And once she does it, once others do it, when people start to see this, those people who are unconsciously motivated by these characters on screen will start to do it themselves.
Will start copying, yeah. So it's like when a movie comes out, like there's enough studies on this that if in a movie, the character disrespects the parents, then people come out, they start doing that. If the characters are, doing a negative act, that negative act increases post movie.
Interesting.
So movies definitely play a part in our behavior.
Yeah.
Because you've been watching something in your alpha, because there's certain brain waves. Yeah. Alpha is when you are absorbing and you're not saying, like, there's no, like here we're in beta. You make a point, I make a point, you talk about conspiratorial reptilians and I refute that, like I'm not part of this. Like
I didn't say that, but that's your assumptions, Ishan. So
So that's my narcissistic projection.
No, that's just you saving yourself. I like that. Distance yourself from the nutter. That's right.
Look, David.
I knew you were going to go there. I was actually going to say the name. I thought, no, I'll leave.
Look, Dave.
Just call me Ike from now on.
Just
all right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
What was I saying before that?
You were saying about beta states and alpha states. And
so when you're watching a movie, your mind's in alpha. Like beta is when you're both involved in a conversation, is back and forth, you can challenge the idea, you don't have to take it at face value. When you're in alpha state, you're in a receiving state, and the other thing that you're in front of, that's in a giving state. So in a television, in a movie, in a class, you're absorbing the information, you can't challenge it. In a class, maybe you can raise your hands and you can challenge or whatnot to a limit, but with a movie you can't. You can just leave a Rotten Tomatoes view afterwards, a review. So I think that's the problem as well. That proves that people are absorbing this stuff, and Hollywood will have its place. However, there is a big rejection of Hollywood now, because Hollywood is trying to force its woke agenda onto people. Maybe under Biden it probably would have worked more, but now with Trump and Musk and these guys on the right, they are somewhat leveling the scales. Right. And then you've got Joe Rogan as well, which is the most famous podcaster in the English language. So when you're looking at all of these things, there is a bit of a counterweight. And even when you look, Muslims, unfortunately and sadly, that are very academic, that go into, like, if you go to a university and beyond, it hits the sisters more, but even the brothers, you become more left-wing. Marxist, socialist, very left-wing, very accepting of LGBT, accepting theologically. Because obviously you can be tolerant of somebody, respectful of that individual and their choices living in the West. However, for you to say, no, this is okay in Islam, that's problematic. You know what I mean? So that then becomes an issue. But here's now the thing. Living vicariously through the characters, we're seeing this through games as well. Like Call of Duty is probably the most famous movie that the most famous game that comes out and everyone loves it. And then now the most famous game of our generation is GTA 6. And in there you are vicariously living through that. Bro, you're able to drive on the pavement, you can run people over, you can rob them, you can shoot them, you can do mass shootings, you can do all of this stuff. However, GTA 6 now is constantly delaying. Delay, because there's a big expectation on them. Heavy expectation.
I've heard.
And this is going to be interesting, because GTA is not left wing. Like it plays on the absurdities of what the left wing says, and it's humorous. It is traditional somewhat in its kind of values and the masculine role and all that. And some people are saying it's going to go woke. It's going to have LGBT parades.
Okay.
And then you've got these memes of people saying, you know, if there's LGBT parades and we're able to drive around, and you know, so they're looking forward to that in that regard. So living through the game. Nowadays there's an increase of men gaming. There was this new game that came out. It's something similar to the Ghost of Tsushima or something like that.
Assassin's Creed?
No, Ghost of Tsushima, that's the older one that people like, but this is the Ghost of Yotei.
The part 2.
Is that what it is?
I think it is. I think it's from the same franchise.
So that you're seeing a lot of grown men playing that. Question is why? Why are men going into gaming more than, say, in our generation?
Yeah, well, the GTA thing is really clear. So, you know, when we touched on the AI stuff a few weeks ago, it's that, isn't it? It's your repressed shadow side that's given an outlet through an augmented reality that you're actually controlling. You're pressing the buttons. You're hijacking the car. You're the one punching someone in the face. You're the one killing the officer.
Absolutely.
So the shadow part of you is that really deep, dark cavern that you keep suppressed, because if anybody knew you had it in you, they'd probably be disgusted by it, right? Now, no one's watching you while you play this game. And you might have been wronged by a police officer in your life, and at some point you wish you could have just, you know, done something to that individual, but the law restricts you. Society restricts you, but the game doesn't. And so you'll go and do it over and over again. I've watched people play GTA and shoot someone in the head multiple times, even when they're dead. And I've asked them, what was that for? It felt good. But the person's already dead. Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure. And at that point, I usually ask myself, what is it about you that you're trying to kill that you can't? And so the anger of that is being taken out on someone else.
It reminds me of a George Foreman interview. And they asked him, who do you think is the best? And he goes, in my opinion, Muhammad Ali is the best boxer ever. And they asked him why. And he goes, because if you watch the tape back when he knocks me down, he's knocked me down, and then he's got another punch that he's just kept locked.
Ready,
And it's ready, I'm going down. He could have. But the fact that he kept that punch and he didn't shows me that he's the best boxer ever. Which kind of contrasts here with, you know what, someone's already down and they're dead. Keep shooting them when they're down. Keep kicking them when they're down.
So there's a really interesting thing about that, because that person is controlled, regulated, and understands their power. I talk about integration all the time, understanding who you are, what your power is, but where your weaknesses are. How do you overcome some of those weaknesses? By working on those weaknesses, you have to identify them. Identify the monster inside you. Only a monster inside you wants to shoot somebody in the head repeatedly. But the controlled individual who understands what he's doing can hold that punch back. Sayyidina Ali, Karamallahu wajhu, when he was in a battle and he struck one of the main opponents that he had, I think it was Mirhab, I don't quote me on that, but I think it was Mirhab. But this was one of the strongest fighters of the Yahud at the time. And he floored him and literally dealt with him. And as he did that, he walked away, because this individual spat at the face of Sayyidina Ali. And at that point, Sayyidina Ali put his sword back and walked off. He goes, why are you not killing me? He goes, because you spat on my face. If I killed you now, it would be for myself and it would be personal. And I'm not here on a personal mission. I'm here on a greater mission. So he was so controlled, even in that space of absolute adrenaline where it's life and death. And he was able to control himself in that moment. Muhammad Ali, able to control himself in that moment. And they share the same name, Muhammad Ali and Sayyidina Ali. Subhanallah. Being able to regulate yourself. And you guys, you know, mashallah, you do this in the park often. I've watched you guys do it, where people will say things to attack your core. And us as viewers are watching, somebody says something to the Prophet ﷺ, my blood starts boiling. But you guys are able to hold that punch back, because you're like, it's unnecessary at this moment. I'm controlled because my mission is higher than this.
So the question now is, what comes first? Yeah. And we'll use these two quotes to piggyback off. Yeah.
Okay.
It's better to be a well-behaved monster than a well-behaved coward.
Absolutely.
And the other quote is, it's better to be a fighter in a garden than a gardener in a war.
That's Sun Tzu.
Yeah?
That's Sun Tzu's Art of War, yeah.
So now here's the thing. Some people, especially nowadays, it's like, no, we got to be civilized. Like from the get-go, be respectful, be kind, and this and that, which of course we should. But then when these people are put in high stress situations, they falter, they can't manage. Why? Because you need that testosterone.
Yeah.
You need that animal, and you need that, like at the park, not having that monster, not having that beast for when it's needed and somebody comes, you're now limited.
Yeah.
But to have a beast and a monster caged and ready,
that's it,
for when it's required, that means you're covering both sides. You're disciplined, but also you've got that monster there that's tame and that's ready as well.
Yeah.
So what's your thing? Because society and the way people are bringing up their kids, it's like, no, you got to be like from a young age. No. So they're quiet, they're timid, they're not that expressive. Then that has a negative kind of effect later on. While some allow their kids to be wild and, untamed. However, then they, after those characteristics develop, then they start taming.
Yeah.
What's the best way to do it?
You can't tame a fully grown monster. It's quite hard to do that, unless a person really dedicates themselves to doing it. And that's the type of work that I do, which is when you sit with me, I will make you identify your monster. And it's scary, and it's not pretty, and it's not nice, and it can be very uncomfortable. But it's only when you can take that monster and integrate it with yourself. This is shadow work. This is what Jung called individuation, basically. You take your persona, you take your shadow, and you learn how to integrate them together. So you use the monster, and the monster's under your control. It's not a Jekyll and Hyde situation where Mr. Hyde just turns up out of nowhere. And you're like, oh my God, I can't control this. Here we go. He's going to wreck everything.
So Jekyll and Hyde for the people
Jekyll
that don't know.
Yeah. Jekyll and Hyde is an old story. It's a great book as well. I recommend people to read Jekyll and Hyde. When you read books like this,
but Jekyll and Hyde is like,
so you got a doctor, you got one person who created this thing, which he then turns into this monster. So it's Dr. Jekyll. He's a doctor, a height of intelligence,
split personality,
split person. That's exactly.
So during the day he's a doctor, in the evening he's a monster.
He turns into this thing, and often that happens to us as well. So during the day we are one way, and in the nighttime we turn into monsters. Sometimes people will be forward-facingly, really pleasant, lovely, very civil. Then they come home
and beat their wives.
Or grab a bottle and start drinking, or close their doors and access websites that they shouldn't be accessing. All of these things are part of your monster trying to come out.
Yeah.
But it's about understanding where that monster comes from.
Because we're also seeing statistics, and I know a lot of feminists mention it, but just because they mention it doesn't discredit the statistic, which is that 2 women are murdered every week. Yeah. Now, there is that pent-up anger, and then a man obviously is naturally stronger. You come home and all of the whole system is forcing you to be artificial throughout the day. Then you come home and there's this person that can see, that has more access to your authentic self, and then it ends up becoming a war. How do you see that kind of panning out? How
much of your authentic self are you even showing your spouse? Because you
I spent 1 hour with my wife. Oh, what were you doing? We were watching a movie together.
Well, exactly. And even then, even if the monster comes out, because you haven't regulated it and you don't understand it, it will unleash itself on the person that should have your utmost security and safety. But because this person is home for you, because this person is comfort for you. You feel that you can. It's like when people argue with their parents or they argue with family members and they don't do it outside because they know they're loved unconditionally, really. So they do it because they know they'll be accepted and not necessarily judged. It might be really annoying, but they will do it. Whereas outside, if they did it, you know, everybody is what's that Mike Tyson quote? Everybody's a hero until they get punched in the face or whatever it might be. And so the real world has real consequences. Where in the family environment, we've learnt to subdue real consequences, either through manipulation or, you know, curtailing some of what the responses from the parents will be. But I wanted to speak about something, just a slight tangent to what you were saying there. Because you have lots of homes now, and if this might be controversial, and if it is, you can cut it. But we're finding a lot of homes that have dual income families, right?
Yeah.
You've got the male working, you've got the female working as well. And this is something that the feminists might not like, but I just implore them just to listen.
Are you going to tell them to stay in the kitchen?
Not at all. But it's like,
why not?
But just I think that, and I don't just say this for impact. What the female has, the male doesn't, and the female has the capacity to give so much to the world that if that female just stays locked in her home, what use is she? She's one of the most fragrant perfumes, and if it's given to the world, how much blessing could the world get if they were to use their skill sets once they're integrated in themselves and they understand their deen? But I'm not going to go down that route because this could get very messy very quickly. But what I was saying is you're
going to have to elaborate on that, because it's like you've got the fragrance at home, but now let's share it with the world. What do you mean by that?
It's not being shared with the world. So you're sharing it with, for example, let's say there is a woman who's a fantastic artist, for example, right? A wonderful calligrapher or whatever it might be. And she's just doing the calligraphy at home. Why are you going to suppress that in her? Why are you suppressing that talent in her when that could be shared with the world? She's not doing anything haram in that. And this goes for men as well. As long as you're not doing anything explicitly haram, showcase yourself to the world, man. As long as what you do can have some tangible benefit to another human being, do it. Right? If it's not haram, if it can provide benefit to another human being, do it. Do it, because otherwise, what's your use? What's your use if you're just passive and sitting there at home? This is why depression kicks in. This is why women go, this is just boring. You know what? I've just received this DM from such and such person. I'm going to entertain.
Sniper 725.
Yeah, or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? Or
Sniper.
Yeah. or whoever it might be. Do you know what I mean? Kazibro _786 or whatever it might be, right? This person's now DM'd and, you know, this person is bored. This person has no outlet. This person has no purpose. And now this individual is feeding that purpose. And all of a sudden, you know, this person is wonderful. And and that marriage is gonna break at some point because now she's in that direction. But what I was coming back to was...
But I do want to caveat that with this point that before you showcase your talent to the world, you need to make sure your house is in order.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, I know we know each other. I know, like, that's a default thing that you mean anyway. But unfortunately, people watching, they don't understand this. Yeah. That when there is this emphasis more on, I've got this artwork and I want to show it to the world and this and that, and your kids aren't getting time because you are now having to work on deadlines and you're not looking after the husband. You're not looking after the kids. That house is a pigsty. And frankly, no, it's my mission. And I want to show the world. And I want to show this guy that's living, in, wherever, Leicester or something. They've requested a canvas and I need to get that done tomorrow. No, that's too far. If you are used to your routine and alhamdulillah, you've got it in lockdown, then the next step is that, okay, now I need to... Although you need to work on yourself beforehand, you need to have an identity and a hobby, and you can't make that your kids. But once you've got your house and your thing in order, then you take the next step. And I would say and argue the same as with a man. Yeah, good. You know what I mean? Like, as a man, I can't just be going on road trips on my Harley Davidson if I'm not protecting and providing at home.
Exactly.
I need to make sure I've got a job, I've got a good income, and, my family is safe and all that sort of stuff. Then I can start working on my hobby projects and exploring the world or whatever the case may be.
That's it.
So that's what sometimes is the case, that we are compromising the things that are actually important for things that are supplementary but also important.
Yeah, and that's a really great point. So the things which are supplementary should have plenty and ample space for you to give time to, because the things that you're supposed to get in order should just be there. It's almost like fara'id, if you think of it like that. You know, I have to do these 5 salahs, right? If you have an awrad that you read or some Quran or whatever it is that you might do, you're doing these things by default. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. This is what I just do, right? What am I doing outside of that? It's like some people go, oh, mashallah, this person prays 5 times a day. What a great Muslim. What a
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah, bro. And it's like, but that's my default position. What am I doing outside of that default? That's like me saying to you, I eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, bro. Fantastic.
Does the job.
Yeah, but there's a lot of day in between those. What are you doing with that time and
exercising,
that day? Or whatever it might be, but meaning like getting your house in order and doing all of those things.
Yeah.
We should be functional enough, right, to be able to have these things in the strategy to get things in order, so that it then gives us capacity, because we're doing these things every day. So these should be automated, right? But the time and the automation is often at the peril of our need to escape. And so that's why when entertainment is rife and in your hand and on your TV, it will distract.
What's wrong
you
with
from that.
escapism though? Look, I'm living a stressed life. I just want to come home and I want to shut down, Khalid.
I get you.
Yeah, I just want to chill. I want to relax. I want to go into a world that there's no consequences. Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. I know it doesn't exist. Yeah, I want to watch it. I want to collect the figurines. Like, leave me be.
What is the driver for you? What makes you read Harry Potter? What is it about it that you really like?
I like Harry Potter because it's a kid that is, not privileged. He comes from a broken home, and then he's like inherently special, and he goes into this world, and he's the hero in this world.
I like that. If you were to speak to the child in you, what would he say to you? What would he want to be?
Kid.
No, what would he want to be? What did he want to be?
Did he?
What did he want to be?
Oh, I thought you meant as a...
You're a dangerous man. الرجال خطير. Yeah.
So, to the kid within me, I'd say, what would I say to the kid within me?
What did the kid in you want to be?
The kid, he wanted to be special. He wanted to be the main character. He wanted to be the Malcolm X. He wanted to be the leader, the Khalid bin Walid, the warrior, the one that people hundreds, thousands of years later are still writing about and talking about.
Fantastic. And those are lovely things to aspire to. But instead of you going and chasing those things, you're living that through Harry Potter now.
Expelliarmus.
I don't know what that is. What is that? The magician?
It's a spell, yeah.
It's a spell. Okay.
And that's worked
none of this
so well.
Juju on me, please.
Yeah, it's worked so well that, bro, it's got like a cultish following to such a degree that they are now making a series that's gonna go over. I think it's gonna go on for like 10 years, a 10 years series.
Just based on experience?
Just based on Harry Potter.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry. Yeah,
and that story and the premise of the story of a kid that's lost his parents, that's living with his evil aunt and evil uncle underneath, the stairs, and he is a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry.
Yes. So
you're a wizard.
Special. You've got special powers. You've got special
and
abilities.
And then Hagrid. You're like Hagrid.
If I still had my dog, I'd look like Hagrid. But look,
this was the point, that I just want to come home. I want to escape, and now people are telling me, no, you got these subliminal messages. But I just want to relax.
But your escapism is fueled by a desire for something. So you have a choice to escape into anything, right? But you choose a specific thing. For you, you've mentioned Harry Potter. There is something in Harry Potter that you're receiving.
Or let's just say Breaking Bad, you know what I mean?
There's something, nothing is random that you choose. Nothing is random. It's coming from a place.
Sausage.
You might be hungry. I don't know, but I'm talking about the things that you decide to do that entertain you, right?
Yeah.
The things that you decide to watch, the things that you want to, the type of media that you want to consume. It's coming from a place. It's coming from
unconscious mind, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming from a desire for you to want to be, and it's about working out what that thing is. So there's an inner child in you that looks at Harry Potter and sees some similarities, and those things which are unresolved in your childhood will potentially start to be seen as being resolved through these characters. But that's not your resolution. That's the resolution on screen. But it provides you some closure. And some closure is better than none. Right? And so this is why I always talk about people going into themselves, introspecting. The Quran tells us to think constantly. All right? And that's what we don't do. Tazkiyah is exactly that. It's about looking inward.
That's what I was going to come to. The solution of the matter, yeah? So you're saying there's an individual that works 9 to 5, yeah? He comes home, wants to escape, and you're saying, look, there's a reason why you're selecting that particular escape.
Yeah.
It's indicative of what you're suppressing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that person do?
Start to journal. Sounds really airy-fairy. And what's the point of that? Why do I need to do this? Don't journal on your phone. Don't journal on your laptop. Journal with a pen and a paper. You are using far more skills to be able to write than you are to type or anything else like that. And you can see studies on this. But when you start to write, what's happening is information from your unconscious is starting to pour out into your consciousness. And it comes out through your hand and it starts to write. And now that idea that was once suppressed in your mind starts to become manifest and real. It doesn't have to be coherent when you journal. Doesn't. It can be random. Let it pour out. I've given this exercise to a few people before. It's like a type of free association and your viewers can try it at home. If they're going through something and they can't really understand what it is that they're going through, get a piece of paper and just write an entire page. Like you just said sausage randomly earlier, right?
Nice.
Write that. But just keep writing. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. Right? Just keep writing all the way to the page, even if it doesn't make any sense. Now get a highlighter pen. And I want you to highlight 15 words that speak to you. Random. They won't make sense to you at that time. Look at the page. There will be certain words that you'll look at and your eyes will glaze over them maybe once or twice. Highlight that. You've now got 15 words highlighted from that page. Separate those words and write them out. Now construct a sentence. You can add some fillers in. Construct a sentence from that. And I implore your viewers to do that. See what it's telling you. What is it about your unconscious right now that you're going through, that your mind is now trying to tell you? And it's in things like that you start to find what you need to do in a moment. This is why in dreams, for example, from a Jungian perspective, our dreams, when we were studying, we had to keep a notepad by our bedside. And every morning we'd wake up, if we had a dream that was, a rich dream, we'd have to write it down, colors, experiences, what it was, what it talked about. And Jung's interpretation, I know Ibn Sirin has different interpretations on this, but Jung's interpretation was your unconscious is trying to tell you something, and it comes out through your dreams. And so that thing that you're either suppressing or that you're hiding or that you want to do or that you don't know you need to now do, your dream is trying to tell you that. And it often does it through symbols and through signs and through images and through metaphors. You need to start understanding what your individual purpose is.
What do you mean by that?
The Quran is telling you that you're not here for any reason, for any play or any game. Allah is saying that I've created you to worship me, right? What does that worship look like? Your fard ain is to do what you need to do, the standard things. Pray your salah, do that. That's standard. Your 5 pillars are standard. Don't look at your 5 pillars as a benchmark of, oh wow, I'm a fantastic Muslim because I do. No, you just do that. Now what else? Now what else? What other capacity do I have to be able to give back to this world? That hadith, Ar-Rahimuna yarhamuhum ar-Rahman. So he who is merciful to the creation, Allah will be merciful to him. Right? And the word that's used is Rahman. No other word. The Rahman is encompassing of all things that are created. Muslims, non-Muslims, animals, trees, whatever it might be. So what is it that you can do as a Muslim that can benefit something else other than you? So the almost disconnection from the narcissist. It's almost the opposite of being a narcissist. Rather than going nafsi, 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 you're saying, how can I give to someone else? How can I give from my skill sets to someone else who doesn't have that and empower them through that? And this is being merciful to the creation. And if you can be merciful to the creation, you will find the Lord of mercy having mercy on you.
So you're saying, obviously, understanding your purpose, one is an integral, like a default purpose, and that is knowing, loving Allah, knowing your religion, performing the acts required. And then the other thing you mentioned was journaling.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add a few things on that I've noticed as well. That if you're around people that are visionaries, that are goal driven, that themselves are doing well, and you're around that person, it's like being around going into a perfume shop. Yeah, you might not actively be putting on the perfume, but when you leave, you will be smelling of perfume.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, if you go into like a booth in which they smoke cigarettes, and some places have these, even if you're not smoking, you will leave that place smelling of smoke.
Absolutely.
So having and reaching out to friends, like there was one brother in a masjid, and I would constantly see him, reading, and mashallah, he was a handsome guy, young, and I would just see him head down and he'd constantly be reading. Mm-hmm. But because I wasn't an avid reader, and I knew that, look, if there's somebody that loves reading, naturally they're going to be patient, naturally they're going to be insightful, and naturally, frankly, I like this person's the characteristics that they have to do that particular act. I want that. Yeah. Now I can't do it myself, so I'd rather be around somebody that does that, so I can through osmosis absorb from there. Yeah. So alhamdulillah, I reached out, and alhamdulillah, the friendship grew until today. We're friends. But I guess a lot of people struggle in their surroundings. They're like, that person's a cool guy, tough guy, good guy. How do I reach out? But that's just something you're gonna have to figure out. There's tutorials, there's books, there's this and that, but having a good circle of friends around you, like there are certain people, they will make the effort, like, bro, I'd like to be around you, like next time you're traveling or something. There was a brother who's like, look, the next time you travel or you go anywhere, I'll drive you. But that's because he wanted to have a long combo in the car where he's like, I want that access to you.
Smart.
So friends, I would say, is a thing. Another thing is travel. And I know for some people it's not practical. However, nowadays, if you look off peak, you can go to Portugal for very cheap. Turkey, very cheap. Like, we're talking £30 over here. Nowadays, bro, there's a new flight that's come out. I don't know what it's called.
This is a thing
Medina.
to Medina.
Medina,
bro.
Bro,
I heard it's like £80 or something. It's something ridiculous.
£130 to get there, and about £70-80 to come back.
Allahu Akbar.
And it's a budget flight, and the baggage is very limited. But what is it called?
Is it Wizz Air? It is Wizz Air, isn't it?
Wizz. Yeah. So they've done this. So now traveling is becoming more easier, because again, there's competition between flights as well. And I think Saudis released a flight called Riyadh Air and this and that. So which is again very reasonable. So travel does broaden the mind.
It absolutely does.
And a lot of Americans complain. Michael Moore did a documentary called Where to Invade Next, in which he's actually complaining that a lot of Americans are very kind of living in a bubble. They haven't left. Many of them don't even have passports.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you go to certain European countries, you will see them to be much superior than America. I would say the same living in the UK. When I went to certain European countries, I was like, damn, these places exist. Yeah, and even other countries, like I would take my child to Pakistan, the Pind, the village in Pakistan, so they can see the open sewage system. They can see, goats and cows, walking wild, and, cow packs, even though that's coming down now because villages are becoming more city based, but taking cow packs
for fuel,
for biofuel, and seeing how that concept works, and that sort of stuff. And this is part of the solution. Even when we went to Norway, it's from a young age in Norwegian culture and Norwegian nurseries and schools, they take the kids, because they've got mountainous areas there, they take the kids on the mountains, they do berry picking, they come and they make jams.
SubhanAllah.
And for them, this camping culture is very, very normal over there. It's very normalized. Over here, not so. Maybe because of our geography and our demographic, not that many mountains over here. But in Norway, being outdoors, traveling, even when we went to Bosnia, horseback riding, like even small things like you're on a horse, and the stuff that you learn from animals, the stuff that you learn from sacrificing animals. I was on a horse, and then the guy was telling me, look, this is how you get the horse to go forward, this is how you get to go left, right. I was making mistakes and everything, and then when I got it right, he was like, okay, now make the horse go forward. And I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. He's not going forward. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. Why is he not listening to me? He paused and he goes, yeah, he doesn't respect you anymore. And I go, why? Because I'm doing
all the right things.
Yeah, he's like, it's because he sensed that his master is clueless. And he's not, he doesn't have the right characteristics to lead me. So now I can lead him. It's these small things, bro, of even when you see people in command of their steed. And his daughter came. I swear, bro, she was like 4. And she was able to command that horse just by pulling him and this and that. She knew what she was doing.
Absolutely.
We were climbing the mountain, bro, and she was going up and down like it's nothing. But for us, bro, it's very problematic. And even sitting with those brothers, because we went on the Bosnia trip, and they were talking about the likes of Imam Shafi and Imam Bukhari. These people were skilled archers. Imam Shafi, when he talks about in tashahhud position, the way he illustrates that to his readers is using the analogy of how you hold a bow and arrow. Why? Because that knowledge was so common amongst the people. But nowadays, the way Imam Bukhari, Imam Shafi are put across are like, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but like nerds, like people that are just bookworms.
No, they were much more than that.
You see, but the way the deen has been watered down, and it's, Islam is peace, and look, Imam Bukhari would memorize so many hadiths. Why aren't you talking about the other side of Imam Bukhari? The combative side as well. Like how they were able to ride their horses and stuff like that, because the deen has been stripped of that energy.
Yes, and this is the thing. So when we look at the deen, we have this construct that we build in our heads that we want these luminaries to be a certain way according to our own standards. So we're almost removing the human element from them, and we're elevating them slightly into this kind of mythical type of character. But they were human beings. They were human beings that did very human things. And Salah ad-Din Ayyubi rahimahullah, for example, everybody sees him the greatest general and the liberator of Al-Aqsa and all of these. He was that, but he was also zahid. Like he would go into his zawiyah and stay there and make dhikr for long periods of time. So he had this nature about him that could go and lead armies and make conquests and do all of that, but he was also very in love with Allah, that he wanted that time with him as well. So there was a holistic element to these people.
And they show enlightenment. Enlightenment embodied is an old man with white hair and a long hair, long beard, or bald or long beard, whatever it is, sitting on a rock,
that
meditating.
Sage type.
Yeah, the sage type. You have to go on top of a mountain, and that's where these people are found. Now, here's the thing, because Umar radiallahu anh once saw somebody, bowing down and really kind of like in that zone, and he hit that person. And then thereafter he told him, he's like, spirituality and zuhud isn't necessarily only on the exterior. It should be primarily in the interior. You can be standing, but what's going on inside you? And they say Umar radiallahu anh was a young man, was able to ride his horse. During his Khilafat, Islam reached half of the globe.
Absolutely,
And this is the advice that he's giving. That look, it's not merely on the exterior. And you didn't see him, just sitting, not a man of action, but he was a zahid, that the Prophet ﷺ said that if there was a prophet to be after me, it would be Umar radiallahu anh. But of course there is no prophet. La nabiyya ba'di. Ana khatamun nabiyyin. So similarly, like this whole notion of spirituality, I'll do it when I'm old.
Yeah.
I'll do it when I've got arthritis. I'll go on top of a mountain and I'll do this and I'll do that. But that's not necessarily the case, is it?
It's not. And this is the thing where people get confused. And I'm glad you mentioned that. And I've touched on it before, that the exterior is almost a false validation. The exterior should come afterwards, once you've perfected everything. Once your engine is in check, right, then you can start putting some alloys on and paintwork and wraps and all of these other things. But if you've got a car that's got a great wrap, great alloys, looks like an immaculate sports car from outside, but doesn't have an engine in it, it's useless. It just looks good. Allah's not checking the exterior, He's checking what's inside. And that's what's important. So one of the things that I encourage people to do is to have time with themselves and no other distraction. And that is really uncomfortable for most people. And what I tell them to do, and I'm not trying to come across that my inclination is one way or another, but Allah says in the Quran that, verily in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find peace. One of the names of Allah is Al-Latif, the gentle, the subtle, all right? And life is quite harsh as it is. And when we take that time out and we sit and it's just us, maybe do it after salah or whatever it might be, just sit there. No distractions, no phones, no nothing. And just remember the names of Allah. Even things like what you need from Allah, remember that name. I'm in need of gentleness right now. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif. And I'm just there. And I'm doing that. And I'm allowing myself to stay in that moment.
Being still, being
silent.
still
in that moment. How many times you will read certain things in Imam Nawawi's book, for example, when he talks about after the salah you should read these things, but in your place. There's so many things of when you stay in your place, once the taslim is done, you stay in your place and you read what you're doing. Because there's a moment of stillness for you there. And that stillness is really important.
I think there were some quotes to do with like stillness and being okay with being alone, but unfortunately.
But while you look for that, just even Surah Mu'minun, for example, it talks about those believers who have stillness in their salah, right? In the Maliki tradition, for example, salah, the stillness in salah is heavily emphasized. Like there should be stillness even between all of the movements.
So now here's the thing, because we've got sensory overload, it's very difficult for a person to sit more than 5 minutes. Yeah. And the quote, it's a decent quote, it's a simple quote. The quieter you become, the more you hear.
Absolutely.
And the thing now is that people can't be quiet because your phone will be vibrating, poking you. Somebody will be saying, you know what, the masjid is closing. Somebody will be saying, brother, So being and having pockets of time in which you are alone. Now, how do you do that? It has to be inculcated, or ideally it should be inculcated when you're young. As a father, take your kid fishing.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there waiting for the fish.
Yeah.
Camping. Let's get the wood. Now let's start the fire. Let's set up the tent. These things take time.
They do.
And at home, we simply cannot do that because everything is there, accessible with the pressing of a button. Yeah. Switching on the light, turning a tap, switching a button on for heating, hot water, again, press the boiler. All of these things, literally, you have to exercise the finger. That's all you're doing. So, fishing, camping, taking time out. Now, people are literally selling trips in which they're saying, there will be no phone, there will be no access to technology for the 1 or 2 days. And this is the thing also, that even a person that's upset or whatnot, if you just go and you sit around flowers, around trees, around greenery, and you just listen to the sound of nature and you just let your rhythm just align itself with nature, whatever hertz it may be. Because again, there's a certain frequency of nature and there's a certain frequency within us. But again, our frequency gets thrown off by all of this technology.
Yeah, it does.
So that's what it is, detoxing yourself. And because it's the last days podcast, what if someone does throw a nuke and then it blots off the sun and we get plunged into another ice age and then there's no technology or whatever the case may be? How are you going to survive?
You know what's really strange? You said that is there's a hadith about at that time, during the actual end times, there will be no food because of a drought and because of famine. That the only food for the believer will be dhikr.
So even that would be a spiritual.
It's almost like a spiritual feeding of oneself. And I asked my sheikh this question. He was like, yeah, it's a dhikr. And so if you are not habitual in doing that, if you're not used to making dhikr, then you might want to start. Because Allah is giving you that clear instruction, as we mentioned. There is, hearts will find peace in the remembrance of Allah. And when Allah says the dhikr of Allah, it's not necessarily just, reading one thing over and over again. The remembrance of Allah is in everything. As you just said, if you're in nature and you're looking at nature and you're looking at the way the plant is and you're looking at that flower and that bird, and we've got this influx of these green parrots in London now. I don't know if you've seen them around. They're beautiful things. And you watch them and you're like, what are you even doing here? Like in this ecosystem, but you're beautifying it with your song and with how you look. Subhanallah, how ajib are you? And now you're starting to think, this is the remembrance of Allah. Because you're remembering that Allah is Subhan al-Khaliq, that He's the one who creates absolutely everything. And so you marvel in the creation of the Creator. And this in itself is a remembrance of Allah, because you can remember Allah in everything if you so choose to do it. And quickly coming back, the Salihin of the previous generations, when they had the time between things that they did, like you said, getting the campfire, doing whatever it was, making food even, there wasn't a phone for them to access to kill the time and listen to things during making their food or whatever. What would they do? They make dhikr. And they would make dhikr, and they were habitual in making that dhikr.
Now I even saw there was a clip of, I think I saw it yesterday or the day before, someone's at a music concert, and they just they what they're doing is they're looking at work, or they're doing at something else
while they're in that.
Yeah, I think the joke was that this guy was looking at someone's CV, and then they zoomed in, they got the name, and they were like, yeah, chances are you're probably not going to be getting the job, because obviously he's looking at your CV during a concert. He's not focusing. And then students are paying $9,000. This is the one that I'm confusing it with. Students are paying $9,000 per year at university, and the kid is there and he's playing a game. Another one is doing something else. Bro, like, what are you even doing there? You know what I mean? So obviously we've run on, so we're going to do the book review
sure,
quickly to end it. Do you want to go first?
So the book that I'm currently reading, I've read it before, but I'm just reading it again because of the times that we're living in. It's called The Crowd by Gustave Le Bon. It was written in 1895, but it's about group psychology and about crowds and how crowds how crowds gather, why they gather, what purpose drives that crowd, how individualism is almost lost within a crowd, and so therefore people's inhibitions are questioned much more. Where if you see a crowd lobbing stones, for example, but you're a really civil person, you might find yourself inclined within that now to start lobbing stones as well. And given the rise of the far right and certain group activities that take place, why are certain places being burnt down? Why are things being thrown at? Because mob mentality. Because a group, when you are in a group, it abdicates responsibility from the individual self, and so it allows you to kind of lean into that shadow side of yourself a little bit more. The monster that we talked about, the one who can multiple shots to the person's head, because hey, if I'm going to get caught, they're going to get caught as well, but chances are I'm not going to get caught because we're all together. So even though this book was written in 1895, and it kind of has that thing about him, as most people in that period did talk about the other, us Muslims, as infidels and whatever, you take that with a pinch of salt and understand his position and why he's talking about that. You should be comfortable in yourself to know your own truth, to read somebody else's opinion about you as well, but still understand how to apply it more globally.
So the book that I've read this and I'm recommending as well is called The Necessity of Hadith by Farid Bahraini. It's a very easy read, very simple. It's not convoluted, it's not overly academic, and especially given the current rise of TikTok, and we've coined the term TikTok Islam. And on TikTok Islam, it's obviously a distorted version of Islam, because people are going by what they see. Yeah, if they like the person and, you know, there's good lighting there and the person looks good, then people will take their Islam from them.
Interesting.
Not interested in if they're actually speaking the truth or where they've graduated from or whatnot. They actually, the quote that it reminds me of is, people are like books. Some deceive you with their cover and others surprise you with their content. So with this book, I think it combats a lot of these TikTok influencers that are coming out, first luring the people in through the things that are obvious and that appeal to you, and then saying there's no need for hadith. Yeah, I'm seeing such a growth of this mindset. Why? Because it's a mindset that certain things will be found in hadith that a person may not feel comfortable with because of their liberal values. But that's a problem with you. You know what I mean? It's a problem with your understanding, and Islam has the answers for everything. You just need to search them out. Merely saying, oh, you know what, because it's there, let me take that bit out. Oh, because that thing is there that I'm uncomfortable with, I'll take that bit out as well. So in the end, there's going to be nothing left. You know what I mean? And hadith are a form of revelation. They are integral for the religion, without which the book says that without hadith, you don't even know which Muhammad the Quran is talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which Muhammad is it? Let me see, because I highlighted this point and I thought it was...
Is it talking about Muhammad al-Hanafiyyah? Is it talking about somebody else? You know, who do you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And it was, look, without hadith, never mind his biography, we can't ascertain his identity. The Quran only identifies him as Muhammad. Couldn't this be referring to Muhammad bin Maslama instead of Muhammad bin Abdullah? So very good, and that's literally in like the first few pages. So definitely recommend this book.
And Allah says that about the Prophet ﷺ, in huwa illa wahyu yuha, that he doesn't speak of his own volition. You know, that he receives and then he gives. And subhanAllah, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, like you said, is only found here. So,
absolutely. So ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you thought of this episode. It was very intimate. It was very conversational, and we touched on many topics. So inshallah you guys benefit. Leave your feedback. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
I was thinking this guy's doing this on purpose now, you know that?